Hello everyone, so it's been a while that I don't post any videos in here, but according to my previous video, I'm starting to do just a monthly update on the course because we're not having lectures every day here in the Master Degree of Entrepreneurship and Innovation at Lund University. So we're basically working on the entrepreneurial project and also on the master thesis. So since we're not having classes every single day, I decided to do just a monthly update for you guys, so you guys don't lose the hang of what's going on in the program, but still I can provide enough content for one video and on one video only. All right, so let's jump to the video and I'll talk to you what happened during the month of February, the weeks from 23rd to 26th. All right, so let's jump to it. Hey there, my dear and fellow entrepreneurs. I'm really glad as usual that you guys are here on my channel. So if you're here and you want to support me, just leave me one of these bad boys right here. It's free and it will help me out a lot. All right, and also subscribe to the channel if you want to hear more about the master degree that I'm currently doing at Lund University. And also if you want to learn more tips and tricks on how to create your own business, whether it's online or offline business, we'll talk everything about that here in this channel, so consider subscribing if you're not already. All right, thank you very much, and let's jump to the week 23 of the master degree of entrepreneurship and innovation. So to start the week, we had feedback from our entrepreneurial project with a guest that it's called Andreas Constantino. So this guy is a friend from Craig, our program director at Lund University, and he is also a consultant, and he has like a company. All right, so he has lots of experience, but it really depends on what your company is about and what your idea is about. But he talked with all the groups from our class. What was not so clear is what we could have him as an asset to give feedback on. I think Craig didn't made it very clear, so when we spoke with Andreas Constantino, he mentioned that most of the groups didn't know what to say or what to ask for him specifically, right? So later on he did a guest lecture for us, and that was very interesting. I'm going to talk about that on the week 26. So I believe it would be better if they did the other things. So if they did the guest lecture before, so we get to know him, his company, history, what they do, and what he has expertise on, and then arrange these one-on-one discussions for us to get some insights and feedback, I think that would be more productive. All right, so that's on my point. So if you do have that in your program, I suggest you ask Craig to just swap it and have the guest lecture before, and then you schedule the one-on-one feedback section with Andreas Constantino. All right, then we had 2 lectures with Anna Bradstrom, which is one of our professors. So one of them was on balancing trust, and the second class was on conflict management and feedback. All right, so both classes took around 2 hours roughly, and they were very interesting. All right, but still I think I would prefer seeing the next lecture, which was Per Mark. He works for Venture Lab. He's from Lund University, and he gave us a lecture on intellectual properties and patents. All right, so it was really interesting, but it was just a 1-hour lecture. So what I was saying about the lectures from Anna Bradstrom, there were 2 hours each one, and although they are interesting, for me they are not as interesting as intellectual property. And to be quite honest, just 1 hour on intellectual property was not enough. He just skimmed through, very low level of knowledge in there, just gave us a brief explanation on intellectual property and a few examples, and we kind of bombarded him with questions. So I would say most of the presentation was around our questions and not on his presentation itself. So I would definitely suggest you guys to ask for Craig for more lectures of those, or at least make a longer sessions. I would suggest around 2 to 3 hours at least minimum, because he didn't go through all his slides, he didn't explain everything, and it was very superficial in knowledge, I would say. So I would suggest one longer session and maybe some other sessions like this. And perhaps you guys could ask for one-on-one sessions with them, because especially because they work for Venture Lab, I think Craig can probably arrange that. So if he could arrange the same one-on-one sessions we had with Andreas Constantino, for example, but with Per Merck from Venture Lab about intellectual property, I think that would be a great value to all the students, all right? Besides that, we had to hand in, still in week 23, a literature review report for the master thesis. And we had to hand that in 2 days before the thesis supervision. So they had time to read out our literature review and see what we were missing or we could potentially add to that, right? So we had to hand in, like we had to review lots of papers related to the topic we're researching. And when we met for the thesis supervision, they mentioned us like, all right, these papers were good. And then we also had to came up with the potential questions we have, like the research questions. And they also gave feedback on those, all right? So that was pretty interesting to do. So that was pretty much it for the week 23. And then moving on to week 24, we just had to do some pre-working activities. And most of the time we used to write our thesis paper based on the feedback we had from the thesis supervision. So we didn't have much classes on the 24th. We just had to deal with the master thesis and this pre-work that we need to do for testing our business ideas. Because on the week 25th, we had a guest lecture with David Blaine. David Bland is an author of the book Testing Business Ideas by Strategizer. It's a really cool book. I'm gonna leave a link in the description of this video so you guys can check it out. It's a very interesting book because they mention how to test your business ideas and as fast and cheap as possible, but still validating your business ideas so you can scale up and have less risk out of it. So it's very interesting, all right? So during his lecture on the week 25th, so I'm moving already to week 25th because 24th was all that I said. It was thesis and just doing the pre-work, working on our business ideas to put like some hypothesis that we want to test, all right? So the week 25th, we have this lecture with David Blaine. So he basically taught us how his system works, how he teaches people how to test their assumptions and their business ideas. And we used his tools to map out the hypothesis we want to test and set it up. So it was really cool because he gave us lots of real life examples and it was very interactive. So he asked us to do those hypotheses and how we would like to test it. And then he would read from some of the groups and giving feedback. So that was very interactive and very nice to hear. All right. After that, my team pitched on Pitcher's Corner. If you don't know what's Pitcher's Corner, every week we have a session on Tuesdays from 9:30 to 11 o'clock maybe, where teams have to do an elevator pitch. It's basically a 1-minute pitch talking about your business idea, and you can pitch it like to investors or to let's say clients or whatever you want to improve your pitch. All right, so you will pitch to those experts and they will help you to improve your pitch. So you'll have the first round, you'll pitch your business idea, and then they will give you feedback. All the people that are present will also give you feedback because they select a couple of functions for everyone. So green hat will give positive feedback, red hat will give like not negative but constructive feedback for you to get better in specific parts of your pitch, and also someone that will be either the client or the investor, and they will give you feedback based on that. All right, so it is pretty cool to improve how you want to sell your product or how you want to get investments. So it's really cool to do that exercise. We didn't win the prize, but it was very interesting to be there, practice, and improve ourselves. All right, so that was pretty much for the Teachers Corner. And after that, we had the Seminar 1 for the entrepreneurial project. So basically, we had created the hypothesis we want to test with the guest David Bland. And for the Seminar 1, we basically had to come up with a detailed presentation of all the hypotheses we want to test and how we plan to test those hypotheses in the market to validate our business ideas. And we had to present that to our class. And after we did that, we received feedback from all of our peers that were present during this session, because not everyone was present. They scheduled a few groups to be present in each section, so you don't have to hear everyone talking about their hypothesis and how they will test. So you just needed to be present on your session, but then you were also scheduled to give feedback to a specific group, and so on and so forth. All right. And that was pretty much it for the week 25, all right? So for the week 26, we had to hand in the thesis introduction and the theoretical framework to work on the Seminar 1, but not from the entrepreneurial project, but for the thesis module this time, all right? So basically, we had to write the introduction and the theoretical framework based on the feedback we got from the thesis supervision session that we had right after we handed in the literature review report with the literature that we find important for our topic. So we had to hand in the introduction already as developed as it was, so as much as you can do. So it was very challenging because we were reading a lot of papers related to the theme, but when to put it into a written paper, it takes a lot of time for you to connect the dots with all the papers you have read. So I definitely recommend you guys to use some sort of applications to do the referencing and keep your references all there. So I'm actually using Mendeley to do that. If you want, I can leave a link in the description for Mendeley, or also Zotero is very good for doing that. And there you can store all your sources and how they're cited in your paper, all right? So it's very simple to cite instead of doing it manually, which would take you a lot of time to do it and put it in the correct referencing style and everything, all right? So it's very useful to use one of those apps. All right. After that, we had a guest lecture. All right. I just didn't mention it. So for the Seminar 1, we had, for the thesis module, we had basically the same thing for the entrepreneurial project. We went there to receive the feedback on our introduction and the theoretical framework from our peers and also from our thesis supervisors, all right? So they gave us feedback that we'll have to work on for the Seminar 2. And we also were scheduled to give feedback to other groups the same way it worked for the entrepreneurial project. So we had to read the introduction and theoretical frameworks for other people, and we gave feedback to them, and we also received for our paper, all right? So after that, we had a guest lecture with Johanna Reitling. She's from Zenith Design, and she gives us tips and tricks on how to better create pitch decks and how to create more good-looking slides, I would say. That was very interesting. She mentioned a lot of stuff of color patterns and stuff like that, which was kind of overwhelming, but the main point in there is that they went through the pitch decks from people from the previous years, and they showed us, she provided feedback on those pitch decks and the positive and negative aspects of them, and how we could avoid the negatives and turn them into positive aspects to have the best pitch decks as possible. All right. So then we had the guest lecture with Andreas Constantino that I was mentioning to you guys. So basically, he taught about digital teams, because he currently owns a company, but everything, all the employees work from home. They don't share an office or anything. So even when he's hiring people, he hired just by meeting them online. So it was a very interesting conversation that we had with him, especially because our course was entirely online. So we had to get used to working online, and seeing a company that does that and everyone works online remotely from wherever, it was very interesting, and to see that it works properly. So it was very nice talking with him, and that's what I mentioned. It was really good to see this presentation from him before we had the one-on-one session with him. It would be way more productive. So that was pretty much it for the week 26, guys, and that closes us with the month of February, and we're now continue to work on the business idea, on the entrepreneurial project, and also for the master thesis. All right, so I'll keep you posted 1 month from now how the month of March will go. But in the meantime, I will try not to leave you 1 month waiting for the next video. So I want to interview some people from my class that had something peculiar going on with them. So one team was accepted in an incubator in Malmo. So if you guys want to learn about their history, I'll plan to interview them. So just write down here in the comments if you want to learn more about this experience of joining an incubator. And the other one is for you guys who are planning to get a job. So one of the students I know, she passed on the Sony incubator, so she's working there as an intern. So that would be really nice to do it, and I can try to interview her to the channel and bring this video to you. So just type it in the comments which one you would like to see, and I'll try to approach them and create a video on that so you guys can learn more from their experience as well. Alright, so that was pretty much for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to leave me one of these guys right here. It helps me out a lot. And also subscribe to the channel if you're not. Alright, so I see you guys on my next video.